The Galactic Council chamber was a place of pride and arrogance. Hundreds of alien leaders filled the wide hall, their eyes glowing with colors from different stars, their voices sharp like knives cutting through the air. They had gathered to speak of one small planet, a planet they believed to be weak. That planet was Earth. From the highest seat, the council speaker raised his voice. He was a tall being with silver skin and 4 glowing eyes. His words echoed across the chamber. The humans call themselves Terrans, he said, but they are no more than children. Their armies are small. Their fleets are few. They fight among themselves. They do not deserve a place among the stars. Around him, many alien leaders nodded. Some laughed in their strange voices. The sound was cruel, mocking. They remembered the few human signals that had spread across the galaxy. Music, stories, even warnings. But to the Great Council, these signals only showed how simple and unprepared humanity was. "We must act quickly," said another voice, a reptilian commander with sharp teeth and a deep growl. "If we leave them alone, they may one day grow bold. But now they are weak. Now is the time to strike. We will demand their surrender. If they resist, we will destroy them." The chamber rumbled with approval. The aliens felt no fear of Earth. To them, the humans were small insects standing against giants. But not all were so certain. In the corner of the chamber, one alien elder remained silent. His skin was pale, and his eyes were old and tired. He had studied the humans longer than most. He had read their history, their endless wars, their victories against impossible odds. He raised his hand slowly. "Do not underestimate them," he warned. His voice was calm, but the chamber fell quiet for a moment. "Humans are not like others. They are dangerous when cornered. Their weakness is a mask. Beneath it lies something unpredictable." For a second, the room was still. Some council members shifted uneasily. But then laughter broke the silence again. A winged ambassador spread his feathers and scoffed. "Unpredictable? Perhaps. But still weak. An insect may sting, but a giant crushes it with one step." The elder lowered his hand. He said no more, for he knew the council would not listen. They were blinded by pride, as many great empires before them had been. The council speaker rose once again. "It is decided. A fleet will be sent to Earth. They will demand surrender. If humans refuse, Earth will burn." His 4 eyes gleamed with cruel light as he struck his staff against the floor. The decision was final. The chamber roared with agreement. To the council, this was not war. It was only a lesson to a small world that had dared to speak too loudly. But deep within the council hall, a whisper moved among a few of the younger members. They had seen the old elder's eyes. They had felt his unease. Why was he so afraid of a small planet? Why did his voice shake when he spoke of humans? Still, the council paid no attention. Pride drowned doubt. The alien fleet was prepared. Massive warships, forged in the fire of 100 suns, were made ready to leave. Their weapons could shatter moons, their shields could withstand storms of plasma. To the alien commanders, it seemed more than enough to crush a planet of humans. But even as they prepared, the elder's warning repeated in his mind. He remembered the ancient stories of human history. A people who fought wars across mountains, seas, and skies. A people who had turned their own world into a battlefield many times over. He remembered their strange ability to rise again and again, no matter how many times they fell. He whispered to himself, unheard by others. "They think humans are weak. They do not know. They will learn." Outside the chamber, stars shone in the endless dark. Somewhere far away, Earth spun quietly around its sun, unaware of the council's decision. But Earth was not unprepared. The silence of humans was not the silence of fear. It was the silence of waiting. Something unseen moved in the dark of space, hidden behind shadows and silence. And soon, the council would see that silence break. The alien fleet entered Earth's orbit like a dark storm spreading across the sky. Dozens of ships hung above the blue planet, their shadows crawling over the oceans and continents below. From the ground, people stared upward in silence, their hearts filled with fear and wonder. For centuries, humans had looked at the stars with dreams. Now the stars had come to them, but not with friendship. The flagship of the alien commander floated closest to the planet. Its shape was sharp and cold, built for war. Inside, Commander Valen stood tall, his scaled armor glowing under the dim lights. His eyes burned with confidence. He believed the mission would be easy. Earth would kneel. He opened a channel, his deep voice echoing across the human communication network. "People of Earth," he said, "you stand before the Galactic Council. You are weak. You are unworthy. You will surrender your planet and serve the order of the stars. Resist, and your world will burn." His words spread across the skies, carried into every human broadcast. For a long moment, silence answered him. No threats. No cries. Only silence. Then, a calm human voice replied. It belonged to Ambassador Clark, who stood within a small chamber on Earth's surface, facing the alien projection. His suit was simple, his posture steady. "We hear your words," Clark said. "We welcome peace. We do not seek war with the Council. Let us talk." The alien commander narrowed his eyes. He expected fear. He expected begging. Instead, the humans sounded calm, almost too calm. Still, Valen agreed to talks. It would make Earth's surrender look official, and the Council valued order. Soon, the aliens landed a shuttle on neutral ground. The meeting was arranged inside a tall building of glass and steel, one of humanity's symbols of progress. The alien guards entered first, their weapons humming with energy. Behind them came Valen, his presence filling the room with authority. Across the table sat Clark and several human leaders. They rose politely, offering greetings. The commander sneered. "Your planet has no choice. You will kneel before the Council, or your cities will fall." Clark folded his hands and looked at him with calm eyes. "We understand," he said simply. The alien commander frowned. There was no resistance, no anger, only calm. He felt a strange unease, like a hunter who suddenly wonders if the prey is leading him into a trap. The talks continued. The aliens repeated their demands. The humans listened quietly, nodding, speaking with measured voices. To the aliens, it felt too easy. They thought the humans had accepted their fate. Yet something in their faces unsettled Valen. Their eyes did not show fear. They showed patience, as if they were waiting for something unseen. Hours passed. Reports came from the fleet in orbit. "No human ships in space," said the officers. "No defenses found." The commander grew more certain of victory. But deep inside, he felt a shadow in his mind, a question he could not answer. Why did these humans look so calm? That night, while the Council fleet circled above, Earth lay quiet beneath the stars. But far beyond the reach of alien sensors, hidden in the black of space, a shape stirred. It was massive, silent, and invisible, cloaked in technology the aliens had never faced. A Terran warship waited in the shadows, unseen behind the cold face of the moon. Its engines were quiet, its weapons sleeping, but its presence was like a predator in the dark. The humans at the peace table knew it was there. Their calm smiles were not surrender, they were the patience of hunters. The next morning, the negotiations resumed. Commander Valen grew restless. He had expected fear and submission, but instead the humans only delayed, speaking of peace, asking for time, offering words that felt like smoke. Finally, his temper cracked. He slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Enough games. You are weak, and we are strong. Your silence will not save you." Clark met his burning eyes without flinching. His voice was steady, even soft. "Silence does not always mean weakness, Commander. Sometimes silence waits for the right moment." Valen felt the chill again, the same unease he had felt in the council chamber before leaving for Earth. He turned his gaze toward the sky through the glass windows. Above, his fleet was strong and bright. But somewhere beyond, he felt it, the weight of something unseen pressing against him. He did not yet know what it was, but he would soon learn. The humans had not surrendered. They were only waiting. The alien fleet remained in orbit above Earth, their warships glowing like cold suns against the black of space. Commander Valen watched the planet below, convinced that victory was already his. The humans had offered no resistance, no fleet of their own, no weapons raised against the Council. To him, it was proof that Earth had accepted its place as weak. Yet deep inside, a restless unease grew. The humans were too calm. Their silence was too heavy. On the flagship's bridge, officers worked at their stations, scanning Earth's skies. One reported, "No warships detected, Commander. Human technology is primitive. Their satellites are weak. There is nothing that can threaten us." Another officer added, "Our sensors sweep the system. Empty. We are alone here." The reports should have brought comfort, but instead they left Valen uneasy. He paced across the metal floor, his scaled feet clicking against it. He remembered the warning of the old elder back in the council chamber. "Do not underestimate them," the elder had said. "Humans are dangerous when cornered." Valen had laughed then. But now, standing in orbit over their silent world, he wondered if there was truth in those words. The negotiations on Earth continued, but they went nowhere. Human leaders nodded, smiled, and spoke softly of peace. They made no threats, no bold declarations. They only asked for time. Valen began to feel as if he were the one being tested, not them. He stared at Clark, the human ambassador, who never showed fear. There was something in the man's eyes, a quiet strength that unsettled him more than open defiance would have. On the third day of orbit, strange reports began to come in. One officer spoke with unease. "Commander, our sensors detected a faint energy surge near the far side of the moon. It vanished quickly, but it was not natural." Valen frowned. "A human weapon? Impossible," the officer replied. "Their technology cannot hide from us. It must have been a glitch." But an hour later, another signal appeared, this time closer, then vanished again. The crew grew uneasy. Their scanners found nothing solid, yet the shadows of movement lingered in the data. Valen leaned over the console, his voice sharp. "Check again. Every detail." The officers obeyed, but the screens showed only empty space. "Nothing, Commander. No ships. No structures. Nothing." Still, the unease spread across the bridge like a cold wind. At night, Valen could not rest. He stared at the stars beyond the viewport, his claws tapping against the chair. His instincts screamed that something was out there, hidden, waiting. Yet his pride would not allow him to admit fear. "Humans are weak," he whispered to himself. "They have nothing. They cannot touch us." But his words felt hollow in the silence of space. On Earth, Clark and the human leaders continued to play their part. They welcomed alien demands with polite nods, as if surrender was only a matter of form. But behind their calm eyes, secrets were kept. They knew of the shadow beyond the moon. They knew of the warship that waited, silent and unseen. While the aliens believed themselves in control, humanity was preparing. On the fourth day, the ghost signals returned, stronger this time. They appeared on multiple ships across the fleet. Faint energy spikes, like a presence moving just out of sight. The officers grew nervous, whispering of hidden ships, of cloaked enemies. But every time they scanned, the void came back empty. Valen snapped at them, his voice like thunder. "You will not speak of ghosts. The humans have no fleet, no power, no weapons to match ours. These signals are nothing." But even as he shouted, doubt twisted in his chest. He remembered the human ambassador's words, "Silence does not always mean weakness." That night, a junior officer approached him in secret. The young alien's voice trembled. "Commander, I feel we are being watched. Something is out there. I can feel it. Valen struck the officer with his clawed hand and growled, "Fear is weakness. Do not let it spread." But after the officer left, Valen sat alone in his chair, staring at the stars. The fear he had punished in the soldier was the same fear eating away inside him. The cracks were forming, not in the human defense, but in the confidence of the alien fleet. Their victory no longer felt certain. It felt like a trap slowly closing. And in the silence of space, unseen and uncounted, the Terran warship waited. For days the alien fleet circled Earth like hungry predators. Commander Valen stood tall on the flagship's bridge, his glowing eyes fixed on the quiet planet below. The humans had not fought back, had not resisted, had not even raised a single weapon to the sky. To many in his fleet, it looked like victory without battle. But Valen could not rest. Ghost signals still haunted his scanners, strange flashes of energy that appeared and vanished before his officers could trace them. Each report was dismissed as error, yet unease spread like a shadow through the crew. The humans remained calm in every meeting. Ambassador Clark spoke softly of peace, his steady eyes never blinking, never breaking. His words promised friendship, but his silence spoke of something hidden. Valen began to feel that every smile was a knife, waiting for the right moment to strike. On the 7th day, the air on the flagship felt heavy, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. Officers whispered of unseen watchers, of shadows in the void. Some claimed they felt eyes on them whenever they looked toward the dark side of the moon. Valen silenced them with threats, but his own claws tapped endlessly against the command chair. Then it happened. Without warning, the sensors screamed. Lights flared red across the bridge. "Commander!" an officer shouted. "A massive object, directly behind us." Valen snapped his head toward the main screen. At first there was nothing but black space. Then the darkness rippled, like a curtain pulling away. Out of the void, a shape emerged. It was huge, larger than any council ship, its black hull shining faintly against the stars. The Terran warship had revealed itself at last. Gasps filled the bridge. Officers froze, their voices choked in their throats. The ship was a monster, built for war. Its armor was layered with unknown alloys, its edges sharp like the blade of a titan. Strange markings covered its hull, glowing softly with human symbols. It had been there all along, hidden, watching. And now it stood behind the fleet like a predator stepping out of the shadows. Valen's blood turned cold. His voice came out low and strained. How could we not see it? No one answered. The scanners that once showed empty space now screamed with the presence of the warship. Its power core burned hotter than any the council had measured, its weapons locked and ready. Every alien on the bridge felt the truth. They were prey, and the hunter had revealed its teeth. Across the fleet, panic spread. Crews shouted in fear. Some captains demanded orders, others begged to retreat. The humans had not been silent out of fear. They had been silent because they were waiting for this moment. Then, a voice came across the comms. It was human, cold, calm, terrifying. "This is the Terran defense ship Vigilant. You came to demand our surrender. You came to call us weak. Now you will listen." The voice was not angry. It was steady, controlled, like steel wrapped in ice. The alien officers trembled as it filled their ships. Valen forced himself to stand tall, but his scales itched with fear. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. The Terran ship moved closer, silent engines gliding it forward with impossible grace. Its shadow covered the alien flagship. On every screen, its weapons came alive. Massive cannons, missile bays, and strange energy ports glowing with power unknown to the Council. One shot from those guns could tear their ships apart. And still, the Terran ship did not fire. It simply waited, daring them to move. "Commander," one of Valen's officers whispered, his voice shaking. "If this is one ship, how many more do they hide?" The question cut through the silence like a blade. Valen felt his pride crack under the weight of it. If one warship had been invisible all this time, Then perhaps others lurked unseen among the stars. Perhaps the humans were not weak at all. Perhaps the Council had made a mistake that could not be undone. Valen stared at the Terran ship and saw no fear in its design, no hesitation in its posture. It was a declaration in steel: humanity would not kneel. He remembered the Elder's words in the Council chamber. Humans are dangerous when cornered. Their weakness is a mask. Beneath it lies something unpredictable. Now, as the massive warship hung above his fleet, Valen understood. The mask had been removed, and the truth was terrifying. The humans had waited. They had watched. And now, they had revealed themselves. The bridge of the alien flagship was silent except for the trembling breath of its crew. Before them, the Terran warship hung in space like a mountain of steel, its dark hull glowing with silent power. Its weapons were alive, tracking, ready. Commander Valen's claws tightened around the edge of his chair. He had commanded fleets across a dozen wars, crushed worlds that resisted the Council, yet never had he felt such fear. This was no weak planet begging for mercy. This was a predator showing its teeth. The human voice came again over the comms, steady and sharp. We offered peace. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Every word hit like a blade, cold and precise. The alien officers stared at their commander, waiting for orders, but Valen had none. His mind spun, torn between pride and terror. If he ordered an attack, the warship would destroy them. If he retreated, the Council would call him a coward. The Terran ship drifted closer, slow and deliberate. Its shadow covered the alien flagship completely now, turning the stars into darkness. Alarms whispered in the background as the scanners calculated its firepower. The numbers made no sense. The energy readings were beyond anything the Council had recorded before. "Commander," an officer whispered, "their weapons could destroy us in seconds." Valen wanted to strike the officer for speaking fear aloud, but he knew the words were true. He forced his voice steady. "They are bluffing. They show power but will not use it. Humans are not foolish enough to challenge the Council fleet." Yet even as he said it, his chest tightened. The calm voice of the Terran captain returned. "You came with threats. You came to demand surrender. This is your first and final warning. Leave our skies, or learn the cost of your arrogance." Then the warship acted. A single cannon shifted, its barrel glowing with blinding light. The alien fleet froze. Power built in silence, then roared into fire. A beam of energy burst from the Terran ship and struck into the void. It did not hit a ship. It did not touch the planet. Instead, it tore into a massive asteroid drifting on the edge of the system. In an instant, the rock shattered into dust. Pieces scattered across space like sparks from a flame. The fleet watched in stunned silence as what had once been a mountain of stone became nothing. The humans had not fired at them. They had not fired at Earth. They had fired a warning. It was not a bluff. The power was real. On the bridge, fear turned into panic. Officers muttered, eyes wide, hands shaking over their controls. One captain's voice cracked over the comms. "That one shot, it could have destroyed my ship 100 times. Another whispered, "How many of these ships do they have? How many are watching us right now?" Valen shouted for silence, but his voice carried no strength. The crew could see the truth in front of them. Their fleet was powerless. The Terran warship spoke once more. "This is your choice. Leave now, and you live. Stay, and you will not." The voice was not cruel, not loud. It was calm, like the words of someone who did not doubt what would happen next. Valen's pride screamed inside him. He wanted to order the fleet to fire, to prove that the Council still held power. But his instincts, honed across years of battle, whispered another truth. If he fired, he would die. If he stayed, they would all die. He turned to his officers. Their eyes begged for him to retreat. Their hands hovered, ready to flee. For the first time in his life, Valen felt the weight of true helplessness. The humans had not begged for mercy. They had not fought with desperate rage. They had stood in silence, waiting, and when the time came, they had revealed strength so great that even the proudest fleet of the Council trembled. Across the fleet, captains whispered to their crews, fear spreading faster than command. Ships shifted, slowly, pulling back from their positions. Some turned outright, engines flaring as they began to retreat into the black. Discipline was breaking. The sight of it burned Valen's pride like fire. He bared his teeth, rage and shame twisting inside him. But there was nothing he could do. He had brought his fleet into the jaws of a predator, and now he had no escape but retreat. As the first ships fled, the Terran warship did not move to stop them. It watched, silent and unmoving, its weapons glowing faintly like the eyes of a beast that had already won. Valen clenched his fists and gave the order he never thought he would. "Pull back," he said, his voice a whisper of defeat. The words tasted like poison. The fleet began to retreat, their formation broken, their pride shattered. Behind them, Earth spun quietly, untouched, its defenders never firing a shot at their enemy. And above it, the Terran warship remained, silent and proud, a warning to all who would call humanity weak. The retreat of the Council fleet spread across the stars like fire in dry grass. News traveled faster than light, carried by whispers, reports, and intercepted transmissions. The proud warships that had entered Earth's orbit with arrogance now limped away in silence. Entire crews sat in shame, their eyes avoiding one another, their hands heavy with the weight of defeat. Commander Valen stood alone in his chamber, staring at the stars beyond the viewport. His claws clenched and unclenched as he replayed the moment in his mind again and again. The Terran warship decloaking, the warning shot that shattered an asteroid, the cold human voice that had spoken without fear. He had believed Earth was weak. He had believed humanity was prey. Now, the image of that warship haunted him like a shadow he could never escape. His pride screamed for vengeance, but his heart whispered of doom. He could not deny what he had seen. One Terran warship had broken an entire fleet without firing a single shot at them. In the lower decks, his officers spoke in hushed voices. Some called the humans demons. Others said they were monsters hiding in plain sight. A few even wondered aloud if the humans were favored by the stars themselves. Fear had replaced arrogance, and that fear spread like a disease. Across the Council worlds, the retreat was seen as an embarrassment. News screens displayed images of the mighty fleet fleeing before a single Terran vessel. Citizens asked how such a thing could happen. Leaders demanded answers. And behind the anger was something worse: doubt. If the humans had built one warship so powerful, how many more did they keep hidden? In the great chamber of the Council, voices rose in fury. The speaker slammed his staff against the crystal floor, his 4 glowing eyes burning with rage. "This is a lie," he declared. "One ship cannot hold back the Council. The commander failed. The fleet was led by weakness." Many agreed, shouting for Valen's removal, some even demanding his execution. Yet others, quieter but more dangerous, asked a different question. What if it is true? What if the humans are not weak at all? The chamber split in chaos. Some roared for revenge, promising to return with 10 fleets and burn Earth to ashes. Others warned that such arrogance had already cost them once. In the shadows, the elder who had spoken before sat in silence. His old eyes glowed faintly as he listened to the storm of voices. At last, he rose and spoke. "You laugh at fear as if it is weakness. You call this shame a mistake of command. But you do not see. The Terrans are not weak. They hid their strength because they knew we would come. They waited for us, and when they revealed their hand, we fled like cowards." His words cut through the chamber like a blade. Many shouted against him, calling him mad, but some fell silent. They remembered the images of the Terran warship, its weapons glowing, its size blotting out the stars. The elder's voice grew harder. "You think one ship is all they have? No. It is only the beginning. If they showed us this one, it means more are waiting. We mock them, we call them children, but it is we who are blind. Humanity is patient. Humanity is dangerous. And now, the galaxy will know. Those last words carried beyond the chamber. Already, smaller empires and free worlds were speaking in whispers. Some were afraid, others curious, a few even hopeful. For if humans could defy the council, perhaps others could too. The council's pride cracked, and through the cracks spread fear. On the journey back, Valen sat in silence. His officers dared not speak to him, for his anger was sharp and his shame heavier than iron. He stared at the dark between the stars and thought of Earth. He thought of the human ambassador's calm eyes, the steady voice that had warned him. Silence does not always mean weakness. The words burned in his mind. He knew the council would plan another strike, perhaps larger, perhaps swifter. But deep inside, he no longer believed they could win. For the first time in his life, he felt he had seen something greater than the council's power. He had seen the Terrans rise from the shadows. Somewhere far behind them, above the quiet planet, the Terran warship still waited. Silent, patient, watching. Its presence was a message carved into the stars. Humanity would not kneel. Across the galaxy, the story of Earth spread like thunder. Merchants whispered it in starports, soldiers repeated it in hidden barracks, and leaders heard it in their secret councils. A single Terran warship had forced the council's fleet into retreat. It was a story that sounded impossible, yet every system echoed with the same words: the humans are not weak. On worlds long oppressed by the council, hope stirred. Small colonies that had once bowed in silence dared to imagine freedom. In the black markets and hidden stations, smugglers raised toasts to Earth, speaking the name Terran as if it were a shield against fear. But within the council's heart, rage boiled hotter than ever. The council could not allow their humiliation to spread unchecked. If one act of defiance inspired rebellion, then the empire itself might fracture. The speaker gathered the lords of war and demanded action. The galaxy must see strength. If they believe humanity is strong, we will show them power greater still. We will burn Earth, and in its ashes, all will fear the council again. Yet even as he spoke, doubt crawled beneath the surface. The memory of the Terran warship weighed heavy. The commanders avoided one another's eyes. They had seen the fleet retreat, seen the asteroid shatter like dust. They wondered how many more of those ships the humans kept hidden in the dark. In the shadows of the chamber, the elder rose once again. His voice was slow but sharp. Strike again, and you may not return. The humans are not prey. They are hunters, and they have waited for this moment. You do not see it, but I do. The galaxy now whispers their name. The more you resist, the stronger they will become. The council silenced him, calling him broken with age. But outside the chamber, his words spread like seeds on the wind. Meanwhile, on Earth, the people stood united. For years they had watched the stars with suspicion, knowing one day invaders would come. Now that the test had arrived, they had not broken. In secret bases hidden beneath oceans, inside the craters of the moon, and in the shadows of Mars, more Terran warships waited. They were silent guardians, cloaked from the eyes of the galaxy, their weapons alive and ready. The humans had prepared for centuries, building not just fleets but a resolve stronger than steel. They had studied the empires, learned their weaknesses, and chosen silence until the day came when silence could no longer protect them. That day had come. In the hidden war councils of Earth, leaders spoke calmly. The council will return, one said. They will not accept shame. Another nodded. Then we will show them what humanity truly is. Across the galaxy, fleets moved, spies listened, and rumors grew. Some empires sent envoys to Earth, cautious and curious, offering friendship or trade. Others watched from a distance, waiting to see who would rise and who would fall. But the most dangerous whispers came from the council's own subjects. Worlds long chained by fear began to ask if humanity's defiance could be their chance to resist. The council felt this tremor. Their grip was loosening. The speaker demanded silence, demanded loyalty, demanded war. But silence no longer obeyed him. Even within his own fleets, Captains carried the memory of retreat, and in the silence of their hearts, they wondered if the humans had become the new power to fear. Commander Valen returned to his quarters, haunted by the warship's image. Night after night he dreamed of its dark hull, of the calm human voice that had spoken without fear. His pride told him to crush them, but his instincts told him the truth. If the Council returned to Earth, they would not just lose, they would shatter. And the galaxy would rise against them. Above Earth, the Terran warship still floated in silence, a sentinel watching the stars. It did not boast, it did not move, it did not strike. But its presence was louder than any fleet. It was a warning carved into the night sky: humanity was awake. And the galaxy trembled.